Welcome back to another edition of the Tribal Lines podcast, another Survivor podcast. I'm Pat Johnson, joined by my co-host Stephen Lupo. I want to thank Madison Brown for filling in for me last week. Had some things to attend to, but we're back, and I'm excited to talk about this new episode of Survivor. This new era has been crazy. These 90 minutes have been crazy, and yeah, another good episode of Survivor 45. I'm excited to get all into it. Steve, how you doing?
Yeah, I'm doing great. Very excited to talk about this episode. It's also awesome that this is the first time that we are recording it directly after watching the episode. So you'll get our raw reactions to the episode, which is going to be really cool. And I'm just excited to get into it. Very exciting episode. I feel like it started off pretty slow, had some sob stories, brought us back to the old new era. This feels like the new era with like the hour and a half episodes and less sob stories, more strategy and camp life. Bringing it a little bit back to the sob stories in the beginning, and then it got back into the strategy from there.
Yeah, and like Steven said, I don't know how often we're going to do this right after the episode, but it's a different perspective because when you have, a day or two to sit on it, you have a lot more things that you read up on. We listen to other podcasts as fans ourselves. So, our head is full with, all the other things, post-game press, everything like that. So when we get to do it right after, it's our raw, reaction to it, which is another thing I love about Survivor. It's a thrill. Tribal Council, no matter if it's, the final 15 or the final three, every time Jeff reads votes, you're on your toes for the most part. Sometimes it's given right to you. You know what's going on. But tonight, Steven and I had different opinions. We're going to dive into it. He thought it was Drew all the way. I kind of thought it was Brando all the way, and we'll kind of see how that shook out. So bring us into the episode.
All right. So first thing that I noticed right off the bat was that Lulu was not going to tribal council because previously on Survivor, it didn't show anything about Lulu. Usually in previously on Survivor, it sets up the episode for what's to come. If it doesn't show Lulu, we're probably not getting a Lulu tribal. So I knew that right off the bat. And then, so I knew it was either going to be Reba or Bello. And I had a feeling it was going to be Bello because, you know, Reba, it only talked about like the what happened with the vote. And so I had a feeling that was just going to be for what happened right when they got back to tribal and stuff like
Yeah.
that. So I was leaning towards Bella just from the previously on Survivor.
Yeah, I mean, I
Um,
wanted to pick your brain on that actually because for me, I was thinking the same thing, but not along the lines of like Lulu's not going to tribal. It's more of like I was really drawn to where Dee had voted for Sifu. That thing kind of comes into fruition because at first I'm like, is Sifu even gonna like really be able to decipher this and really figure this out and crack these girls? But he seems to be really suspect, about it, which I like because I want more out of this because it's really juicy. There's a lot of different ways you could go. We saw a lot of different ways that the girls were analyzing and breaking it down. But I wanted to hear your thoughts on hearing that from the new Reba immediately after Tribal.
yeah. So I thought it was definitely interesting how it all played out. With Sifu was asking like who wrote his name down, and the girls were all saying that it wasn't them, that they wrote down Sean's name, but then Sifu tells them that Sean told him that he didn't write Sifu's name down. And Sifu was kind of like suspicious of the girls because like he was like, well, is Sean lying or are they lying? But you also got to think of it this way. D got a vote. So if they are all saying they voted for Sean and Sifu knows that he voted for Sean, the girls are lying regardless. Either they're lying about nobody voting for D, or they're lying about nobody voting for Sifu. So regardless, his guards should be up. Something's going on with the girls. They're not telling him the full truth. Or else someone would have said, "Hey, I voted for D," or and if nobody's doing that, then one of them probably voted for him. So he's automatically feeling on the outs. Um, what do you think about all that?
Well, my thing with this is where this is where J Maya comes in, J Maya comes into play here is It's showing them as a three in a sense, but like I think in D and Julie's eyes, like they're not like a real three, right?
Right.
Like
It's like a two plus one more to get rid of Sifu.
right, like she's nothing, but a vote in this part of the game, in this stage of the game that they're showing us right now, right?
Mhm.
So I know some other things get considered, but for her to be like, "Hi, decoy, I'll be the decoy vote." I don't love that from her. It shows me that she doesn't really know her true positioning. Which
Mhm.
sometimes happens. You get lost in all the different angles, right? All the different webs of alliances because they could have something that we don't really see that could hold some value, but it's not as strong to the storyline that we're going to see later on, and that scares me for Jay. Um, I think this and something else we see later in the episode could both ultimately bite her in the butt. So,
Yeah, I feel like the whole situation with Reba, like they showed Reba like multiple times throughout the episode, maybe three or four times in short little spurts, and the narrative of what was going on at camp would change every single time. Like first when they got back to camp, it was the girls lying to Sifu about the vote, and them not really wanting to say anything, and being upset that Sifu is here and received the vote, so now he's gonna probably play his idol next tribal council. And then I think it went to Sifu telling everybody that he had an idol and he actually made a fake idol to try to protect himself from the next vote, saying like, "Hey, like at least I got one more day in this game, just in because I'll probably play this at the next tribal council." Um, well, first, let's talk about that. Um, I personally, in his situation, think it was a good move. Well, definitely a good move to get to create the fake idol. But what do you think about the move to tell everyone like, "Hey guys, I have an idol, so you can't vote me out. I'm safe." Like,
well,
do you
here's
think that
where
the way he said it makes them think, "Oh, maybe he has a fake idol. Why would he be telling us that he has an idol? Wouldn't he want to surprise us if he's on the outs?" Like type thing.
yeah, I mean, this is kind of going, two ways here. One way of it is I understand why he's doing it because if he has the sense that they think he has the idol, why not just have that decently craft idol that is fake play into that narrative and just kind of hold on to that security, right? Air quote security if you're just listening. Um, but then the other side of it is one of those things where, like, if I was on a tribe with Sifu, I would not want him to go anywhere because of one key thing. It's I know when that I could just tell when that dude's fucking lying. Like, I think something I said to someone, I don't remember who I was watching it with, um, was that this season is great casting. It's great. There's a lot of great things about it that we've, dissected thus far. But one thing that is not great is that I feel like a lot of these people can't lie well. I'd be able to sniff a lot of bullshit out there. And
Hmm.
that's just maybe my opinion. But it's just like I just feel like I want to keep Sifu around because like I'll just know when he's lying at all times. Like it's so
Right.
nice to have someone chaotic, someone that you could read. Like I could read Sifu, right? So I don't know. It's a toss up for me.
Right.
I think him telling them is probably best just because what does he have to lose at this point anyway? He's the clear target. And he knows that.
Exactly. I feel like with him telling them that he has the idol, that gives them the knowledge that, oh, if we vote for him, he's not going home and whoever he votes for is going home. So in order to protect themselves, they might target one of their own and not Sifu, expecting Sifu to play an idol that he actually doesn't have. Because
Well, this
if
all circles back to what what Jay is failing to realize is that the vote's going to land on her if that was the case anyway, and that's
right.
her true positioning, and that's what she's failing to see.
Yeah, because if Sifu doesn't tell everyone that he has an idol, even though he doesn't, he has a fake idol. If he doesn't tell people that, then they're all just going to vote for him, and he's not going to play an idol because he doesn't have one. So I mean, his only move here is to create a fake idol and to tell people that he has an idol, hoping that that will prevent them from wanting to vote for him. And also, how you were talking about how, this cast might not be great at lying. I mean, I do feel like a decent amount of them are pretty good at lying.
No,
Uh,
I'm not saying all of them. There's
yeah,
just some
but
that's just like really, really like. I feel like Brando's another. We'll get into it.
mhm.
It just yeah.
Um, but I think just a quick tangent. I remember in the pre-season interviews with Emily, how Emily, one of the reasons why I was very low on Emily in the preseason was she said that she cannot lie if her life depended on it. Like if somebody asked her, "Hey, are you voting? Are you voting me out?" Then she would be like, no." Like that's
Voting
what she used
herself.
as her example because she's not so bad at lying. Yet we see in this episode that she lied so well to both sides that Kendra was so blindsided.
Yeah,
Like her face showed it all, showed how well Emily did lie to Kendra and Brando. So, uh I feel like even though some people might be not great at lying, like some people are also better than they thought they were at lying.
agreed. And for the record, I'm not a great liar. No shade if anyone's watching this, right? It's all love. But for me, speaking of Kendra, let's take it over to the Alien Alliance, New Bello, which I
Alien
don't
Alliance.
I don't know what the fuck's up with this cast talking about aliens as well. I mean, when you're out there starving for however many days, you're probably talking about like anything.
Right, the aliens made the pyramids, right?
Right, whatever that was. But for me, this tribe, I just felt a lot of tribal energy from the get-go. I was like, they're talking about being starving. They're talking about how hard it is out there. Four of them have never been to tribal council. So I was excited to see, what's going on in this tribe. But yeah,
Yeah, and Drew thought that, Kendra, he expected her to be this like big character, always full of energy, like having her quirks. And at like he even said at Tribal, and he kind of said in his confessional early on, he didn't really expect to like her or want to work with her at all. Unfortunately, he can't work with her because she's a Bello, and his only option is to go after the Bellows. But he has a good relationship with Kendra, which he didn't expect, which I think is also pretty interesting.
do we like this from Drew? Do we like this totally shutting Brando down immediately to where it kind of forces that side to be taken on both sides? Because there is a world where you can flirt with that narrative of that nerd alliance, of different angles in the game. I think Drew is just very, very focused on getting back with his core four, staying true to Austin, waiting for Dee and Julie. He probably knows they're the best two spots on Riva. So I feel like he's kind of just playing not he's probably playing it safe in a sense. But I also think he's staying true to the outspoken and smart strategic guy that he is, that he's not going to hide that in a sense.
Mhm. I kind of like the fact. I mean, obviously, it's never really good to outwardly say like, "Hey, like I'm targeting you and Kendra." Like pretty much that's pretty much what he said. Like not actually saying those words.
Yeah.
Um, so obviously, one that's good in terms of the fact that Emily's right there, can hear you say that, shows that Drew is truly not going after Emily and is truly going after Brando and Kendra. And that, like, sometimes when you show your allies openly that you're against certain people, then that actually bonds you closer with them because they know that I'm not this person's target, so they must be not lying to me because why would they lie to me about me being the target when they're out loud targeting certain people. So that is one thing I like about what Drew did. But I also don't like that he was just so outwardly open like this because, I mean, regardless with even though Austin's a good competitor in the challenges, I feel like that was also a big reason why Drew was targeted, because he was so outwardly open about not wanting to work with Brando and Kendra.
Yeah, and he mentions, he likes Kendra's energy, likes, Kendra's presence, something that he was shocked by. I mean, for me, like I was in the preseason, Kendra was kind of like, I don't know. I still
I
stand
had
by
Kendra as
it.
my 18.
Right. Like, I mean, I still stand by it that although I could see where she's a lot, I could see where you're starving and the last thing you want is like someone making like cat noises. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah,
some,
she just starts like purring.
but there's something to be said about the person in the room who's going through the same experience as you, starving like you, sweating, gross like you, that can still unapologetically be themselves. And I think that Drew ultimately sees that as a window of opportunity. Probably not in a strategic standpoint, but as a social standpoint and
Mhm.
as a way to kind of keep himself safe for now, building a good relationship with at least one of them because he's probably going to have to vote the other one out, right?
Right. I was kind of shocked that like, I understand like him saying flat out like, "Hey, like I'm coming after the Bellows" to Brando, but in his confessional, him saying he definitely would, the last person he would want to work with is Brando. When I saw them all talking about Pokemon, because I know that Emily was playing Pokemon in the pregame, in the preseason, while they were at Ponderosa, and then Drew plays competitively, Brando plays Pokemon. So they all started talking about Pokemon, and I was like, before they even brought up the Nerd Alliance, I was like, oh my god, is this a Nerd Alliance forming? Like, I was so excited because I love when, like, usually there's not these many nerds on a cast together and on the same tribe. So I was like really hoping that somehow they would be able to work together, and maybe they would target Kendra, and then Brando being the last one left, if they make the merge together, they'll be like, you know what, let's all stick together. Or like Brando, if you when you go back to Bello, protect us, we'll protect you when we talk to our Rivas, something like that. Um, I was really excited for that opportunity, and then when Drew shut it down right away, I was like, ah, damn it.
Yeah. I mean, it made for, because I feel like there's so many people, especially in the new era, that are so like, I'll keep my options open. And they say that to everybody, even though it's bullshit. It has to be bullshit a lot of the
Mhm.
time. So for him to kind of just be like, yo, straight up, like, probably not. I think it's pretty cool. That's the Basile in him, probably just being
That
like,
was,
that's
yep.
like Basile at the bar, you know, and a chick, slides next to him and starts dancing. He's like, nah, I got a girlfriend already.
Nah, I'm good.
I got a girlfriend already. I'm sticking with my crew and I'm going against the
Yeah, it's
rest.
it's it's boys' night tonight.
Yeah, whatever it may be. And that's just the way that's gonna, that's the way that's gonna go there. But let's take it over to Lulu.
Jake.
Jake, my winner pick, Jake. Look, I love this dude so much. Boston accent, fucking fire. Go Red Sox just for that. Like, this dude is the epitome of like an inspiration. So I'm gonna be honest. Sometimes I see like the big package story, and the two things I think of are you're going home or you're going really, really far. And this just screamed to me like, yo, like Jake's going. Like, I think he has this big opportunity to like have this battle with himself of like, my body, can it hold up for me? I've put all this hard work into myself. And then at the same time to be so frustrated with all the things that are going on with his body, well then let's see if it works out for him. And he collapses again. And what did you think when you saw that?
Yeah, that I mean, his sob story connected to um the fact that he, fell down, lost consciousness, gained it back within like seconds. First of all, I've never seen anything like that. That was wild that it happened twice,
Yeah.
where he goes unconscious, and then like 2 seconds later he's like back up again. He's like, what the fuck just happened?
Yeah, he
Um,
said that every single time.
yeah, I
Sometimes
thought
he
that was
collapses, he's like
wild.
up and down.
And then with his, sob story about how he, in order not only to prepare for Survivor, but also just to make himself feel better about himself for being so fat, he lost a bunch of weight and worked so hard for that, and to get his body into such good enough shape to be able to be comfortable with himself and also be able to go on Survivor and hopefully not have to worry about, you know, being like a big guy. Um, to have to go out of the game because of his body after he's made his body so much better and so much healthier would really suck. So I mean, if I was in his shoes, I'd be, you know, just so nervous to get pulled out of the game for something beyond his control that he worked so hard to try to prevent.
Yeah, I think Jake's gonna be fine. I
I
think
think he's going to
I
be
hope
fine
that's
too.
I hope that's the last time we see that because I genuinely hope he's okay.
Hmm.
Um, I just want to see like more of like where he's at. I feel like I really don't know exactly. I feel like I just know that he's like cool with Bruce and like
He's
that's
cool with
about it.
Bruce. That's pretty much it.
And
Yeah.
like, dude, Bruce kind of like a dick. Bruce is like, he's like, "What up, fat ass?" I'm like, Jesus Christ! Like, and then you get a package immediately about how this dude just lost like a ton of weight. Like, and then right before that, you have Bruce just being like, "What up, fat ass?" It's like, jeez, dude.
Oh
Um,
my God. I didn't even realize that.
yeah, dude. Yeah, Bruce.
Bad timing.
Let me
Bad timing.
let me just say this, like, Bruce is not faring well, in my opinion. I feel like a lot of the things we get from Bruce are him being a goofball, him being clowned, or him being perceived in a way that isn't necessarily positive.
Right. It
And
doesn't really show his strategy. It just shows him
no,
having either bad relationships with people or good relationships with people. And by good relationships, we mean Jake.
yeah, no, exactly. And I don't really know where his other strings lie. Like I
Mhm.
really don't know. But we
I
know
think Bruce
Katora
is
is
in
not a
trouble.
link. What's that?
I think Bruce is in trouble very early
Oh,
on in the merge. Like,
big time.
I feel like Sifu might be safe, maybe. Like, we thought he was going to be going really soon.
Bruce could go before Sifu.
I think that might happen. Who knows? I'm
Bruce,
still
Bruce
I'm
might,
still
might
trying to figure out who I'm gonna pick for Survivor pool. I'm like, oh, maybe Sifu will stay. Maybe I risk it. I don't know.
there's a 60% chance that Bruce doesn't make jury.
Yeah, I wouldn't be shocked if he doesn't make jury.
There's what,
Um,
two more boots after this? Three?
I really wish that if they make the merge 13 people, can they please have a jury of 10? Like, I feel bad for the two people that don't make jury.
Yeah, that
Um,
sucks.
After making the merge, so you're like, oh, we made the merge, like this is a huge milestone. It's like, yeah, but if you're not good at the beginning of the merge, we're booting you. And
But
a
there's
lot of
no way, because
times,
there's gonna be a twist with it, and there's no way they'll have the jury start at like day 13. Like, you know,
yeah, no, the jury's definitely going to start at 11, but it
yeah,
sucks.
yeah, it's the
I
way it
hate
goes.
hate seeing that.
But speaking of Bruce and his chances, what about the chances of Katura finding an idol at this camp? Katura goes around looking for an idol. She gets caught red-handed, but it's not as bad as it may look. It might look bad to some people, but there's someone willing to lend a helping hand, someone who sees a future with this person, and that's Caleb. And
Hmm.
look, before we kind of go into this, Caleb is getting, we know everything about Caleb and why he does what he does. That is a great sign for Caleb, in my opinion, to do well in this game because I think he's positioned perfectly with everybody. Everybody likes Caleb. Who the fuck wants to get rid of Caleb? Even though you should. He's the number one target to play Survivor like ever. Like you look at him and it's like target, 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 target. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
So I want to hear your thoughts on the whole Katura looking for the idol thing and then that possible chance in that relationship there.
Yeah. First of all, just quickly to
Yeah.
talk about Caleb. He I think is going to make it many votes in the future because, like I did say, you know, in the first couple of episodes and preseason, that Caleb has 0% chance of winning because he's going to be targeted early on in the merge. That's when I thought that it would be kind of more of an even split. I knew that I had a feeling Lulu was going to be down in numbers, but I didn't think it was going to be like two Lulus and then a ton of Reba, a ton of Bello. They're definitely going to be going after each other the first few rounds. So I think Caleb's going to and Emily are going to be in swing positions for many votes in the beginning of the merge. I can see him going far and then him being like a normal like final 8, final 7 type threat. I
Yeah.
can see that now when I thought he was more going to be like a final 11, final 10 type threat. Um, but I think he'll make it kind of farther. But yeah, with Katura, so there's nobody at camp. She goes looking for the idol. Caleb yells her name to try to get her to stop looking for the idol so that the rest of them don't see her. But unfortunately, the rest did see that she was looking for an idol. And, they're definitely suspicious of that. But it seems like they weren't, like, as we got further into the episode, it didn't seem like they were completely too suspicious. But I feel like, but Kelly was saying how, like, Katurah is playing very sloppy. Kelly doesn't know if she can really trust Katurah anymore. It seems like with that whole Lulu tribe, if they did go to tribal council, it seemed like it would be Katurah and Caleb against Bruce and Jake with Kelly in the middle. And I feel like Kelly was leaning towards wanting to get out um Katurah, but I don't know because Bruce, is being really annoying. And, if people are annoyed by Bruce, maybe Bruce ends up going there. Who knows? But it seems like with Caleb trying to get Katurah to stop looking for the idol so that the rest of them don't realize that she's looking for an idol shows just how much Caleb wants to work with Katurah. The information Katurah gave Caleb last episode about the tribe dynamics and how they were going to get Bruce out next if they went to tribal council. I think that really made Caleb feel like he could trust Katurah, and I feel like on that tribe right now, his number one on that tribe is probably Katurah. So it's good that they're going into a merge now where Caleb can try his best to protect Katurah when he might not have had the numbers on this tribe to protect her if they did go to tribal.
Yeah, I do think, with Sean being gone to Lulu being left, and if they're about to merge at 13, I think they're both in incredible positions,
Hmm.
especially with the relationships that they had with the opportunity of this swap.
Right.
Both of
And
them
also,
have an
don't forget
opportunity to make
Caleb
a
with Reba
splash.
too,
Yeah, yeah,
from
yeah.
the when they stole the stuff for the fishing gear.
Right, right. And I think, with that being said, I think there's ample opportunity to for them to link back up, make a huge splash, and put a big wrinkle in someone's plan, whether that's Bello side, Reba side, or some split that we've yet to see. Because what's interesting too is inevitably with this 13 person merge, there's going to be some kind of 6-6 exile. There's going to be something, in my opinion. Um,
That would
and
be
that's going to be fun.
crazy if they split them up at 12. I feel like they're going to do another split up at 11 maybe.
Yeah, and that there's a lot of options to go there with. I just love that we have this pure swap. We have so many people that know each other now before they would in regularly in the new era seasons at a quicker pace. And yeah, so we have a good grasp on all three, new swap tribes. And
And
something that I wanted to kind of touch on real quick is when we go back to the Reba tribe, new Reba has all original Reba on it. Talking about Sean's quit, I was very interested to see that they put that in the edit there where they're talking about kind of just really just trashing Sean's you know choice to quit. So
mhm.
I want to hear your opinion on that.
Yeah, when I was on the last week's podcast with Madison, I feel like I was a little bit nicer to Sean than I probably should have been. I feel like I also, just like D, don't really respect his quit. Well, obviously, like, it sucks to see anybody quit. Um, but just the fact that he did it like many days in, and not because like Hannah's quit, obviously it sucks to quit that early on, but she didn't prepare good enough for Survivor. She had the nicotine addict like withdrawals and stuff like that, and she, like, her body just physically like couldn't do it. With Sean, he just wanted to be with his husband for an additional like week and a half than he would have been if he tried to make the jury. Um, and it had nothing to do with, oh, I'm starving out here, oh, I have to go to every tribal, this sucks. Like, he made inroads with Reba. He was about to be safe. He was about to be in a great position going into the merge with numbers behind him. And he just decides, hey guys, vote me out. I would rather be with my husband, when in reality he's about to go back to Ponderosa for a while. and he won't even be with his husband, and he doesn't have a cell phone, so he can't call his husband. So I also agree with D about how it sucks that he quit, because that definitely put um D and the girls in a bad position, because now the D voted for Sifu, thinking that the girls would still go along with the plan, but the girls were obviously, felt bad for Sean and wanted to honor his wishes. Um, and that caused now Sifu to be thinking he's on the bottom. If they all think he has an idol, so then he would play his idol and one of the girls would go home. So it definitely was like worst case scenario for them.
Mhm.
Um, but and then D talks about how, she's not a quitter and she'd never quit. She worked so hard, stuff like that. Had her little sob story.
Yeah, I think D too is, I don't know, D's a good player. I think she's positioned great as well.
I think she is, yeah.
Yeah, and I speaking on Sifu, he tries to do some like what is it, like Tai Chi or whatever
For the
Sifu
Tai Chi
does.
metaphor.
Yeah, something like that to kind of shift the balance of, so I didn't fucking if he said that to me on day 11 when I'm starving, I'd be like, dude, I'm not entertaining that right
The
now.
the
We're not,
thing
we're
to
not.
J Maya you're talking about, right?
Yeah, when he said that to her, and that's what launches Jay Maya to come up with this plan to be the decoy vote, and I just think that's just I think it's just gonna backfire on her. I think it's gonna truly do. I think it's gonna truly do her in. I think she's next.
Well, if they went to tribal again, yes, I feel like she would have been next and not Sifu.
Yeah.
Um, but luckily they have the merge, and so they don't have to worry about that. Um, but yeah, I thought that J Maya talking about how she was going to, like, not even like soon, like they were like, if they went to tribal sometime, a couple, like an hour or two before tribal, would have let Sifu know, like, hey, I think I'm on the outs. I think they're about to vote me out. Like, I'm sorry, I'm the one who voted for you because uh I thought that that was the plan, but they had all lied to me. um I think I'm about to go home. Let's like work together to maybe get one of them out. And then Sifu would think, oh, looks like J Maya's on the bottom. Like, let's all vote. Let's vote J Maya out. He doesn't play his idol. He goes home. But D and Julie were actually considering voting out J Maya, because even though J Maya is technically the inner circle, with regards to Sifu, one once Sifu's gone, it's Julie and D, and now J Maya's on the outs. And J Maya and Sifu were always the ones on the outs. And it's not like they had an alliance. They were just not in the core four. And it was just a pecking order, Sifu and then J Maya. Um,
Yeah.
so, even though they didn't trust Sifu, they don't have as great of a connection with J Maya, and is totally fine with getting J Maya out, because, that was kind of the plan going anyways. If they went to tribal twice, it was going to be Sifu and J Maya. So, they're trying to protect themselves from an idol play. And I feel like J Maya would have went home if they went to tribal.
Interesting. Well, with that, we're gonna take a quick commercial break. We're gonna come back, talk about this immunity challenge, and cover the rest of the fifth episode of Survivor 45 back shortly. Thank you for listening. And I'm back with some Survivor trivia for you all. Remember, all you got to do is send us a DM. You get one shot at a correct answer, and then your name's going to appear on that wheel. Look, this one's a little tough. So this one's going to be multiple choice. I'm pulling a little, I'm trying to, see if people really know their shit or not. So let's see. I didn't know this one. So good luck. Who is the only castaway in Survivor history to wear a red, orange, yellow, green, blue, and purple buff at some point in the game of Survivor? Your four options are Parvati, Suri, James, and Boston Rob. Let us know what you think. We are back. Thank you all so much for listening to the Tribe Alliance podcast. We're going to get into this immunity challenge, but one thing I wanted to also bring up about, and I don't know if it's the 90 minutes, I don't know if it's new editing. I feel like we were getting like a lot of like decision making pre-challenge. Like, didn't you see like a lot of like I saw like a little bit of each tribe like talking about like what they would do. Like Reba was talking like they had already lost,
Hmm.
right? And I thought that was interesting because in that we saw some one-on-one conversations. We see some decisions that could go left, could go right, and I want to kind of hear your opinion on those key factors before we do head into that challenge.
Yeah, so yeah, I definitely think it's interesting. I think it's smart for these tribes to like, think about what they're going to do if they do go to tribal, because then there's less scrambling and it's kind of more like, okay, like, are we still good with this plan type thing? Because, you're doing nothing out on this island except thinking about what's your next move.
Yeah.
Um, and so it's always smart to use that downtime to strategize what's going to happen next. Because if you don't, and then you only have a few hours once you lose a challenge to decide who's going home, that could be the difference of you possibly going home because you didn't have enough time to prepare what you're going to say, what your pitch is going to be, who you need to talk to, stuff like that. Especially when other people on your tribe is probably doing the same thing. Um, it's definitely was smart for Caleb, him being the only Lulu on that new Lulu tribe with all the Bellows, for him to try to get a good relationship with as many people in that tribe as possible to keep him safe. Um, I think that this is something that I like to do when I play Survivor, and I think it's very smart that Caleb does this, is to try to make sure, like, not necessarily that you have one big alliance that all wants to work together, but that you have these tight one-on-one relationships, so that nobody is out there trying to throw your name out as a possible vote. That there's someone who wants to bring you into votes, because there's someone that you trust individually. So the
Mhm.
fact that Caleb is going into each person individually and having one-on-ones with them, trying to make sure that they feel safe with him and feel like he's someone that they can work with, I think is very smart for Caleb, especially because he said that out of all of his one-on-one connections, his weakest one was with Kelly. And he realized from talking to everyone else one-on-one that Kelly was like the common denominator of someone that they all wanted to work with and bring into their alliance. So if everybody is good with this one person, that should be the most important person that you're good with, because it seems like they are in the most powerful position on the tribe. So Caleb sees this, and because he has the weakest connection with her, to try to make this a stronger connection, he gives her some information. He gives her the information of Sabaya originally having an idol and her going home with it. So now there's no idol, and maybe there's an idol on Lulu. And so I think that is, very smart for him to give up this little bit of information, because it's really not that important of information to like keep to himself, but it's definitely something good to, use as leverage for trust. So I think it was very smart for him to do that. What do you think about that?
My thing of that is too, um, I see why he did it. I think it's not going to come back to bite him. I think it's going to be nothing, right? I think if anything,
It's just
it
just
makes
helping
her
him
trust.
gain a little more trust. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a tiny bit of trust that really doesn't change the story. Um, but what I curious to know is there any doubt in Kelly's mind that he's making that up?
No, I don't think so. I feel like
Because
we would have gotten confessional about it if that was the case.
probably, or if it were to, the story pans out to where there's something that has to do with that. We didn't really get much of that, so it shows me that that could be a thing that's good for Caleb because it keeps continuously we're seeing Caleb's thought process. When you see someone's thought process, it really enables you to get in their to get in their position as well and see how they're trying to navigate the game. So I really enjoy watching Caleb because we get a lot out of him. Um, but yeah, and what about his other Lulu loser that's still left in the game? I know that she could go one way or the other, and I'm curious to see like where you think she ends up tipping.
Yeah. Personally, I feel like um, it seems like she from last episode was getting really close with Austin and Drew, and it seemed like that was the way that they were gonna go. In terms of before this episode even happened, in terms of just trust, it seemed like she had a better connection and better trust level with Austin and Drew, and it seemed like they really wanted to work with her and form this three-person alliance to go far into the merge with. Then the more I think about it and realizing that she also has a decent relationship with Brando and Kendra, um, if Caleb is on Lulu with the Bellows, if Caleb is able to survive a vote, that means that he's working with the Bellows. So if she also sides with the Bellows and takes out the Rebas, it's that's gonna, one, give them the opportunity to stay in the game for much longer because they are all going to be targeting the Rebas because they're down in numbers now. Bello has the majority, and they also know from Brando talking about how there's cracks that he knows about in the alliance that probably are going to have to get like resolved, like these issues like throughout the merge. It's not just going to be Bello and the two Lulus, and then now Bello takes out the Lulus and it's Bello at the end. I feel like Bellos would turn on each other first and use Caleb and Emily as swing votes. So at this point in the episode, I'm feeling like it's probably smarter for her to go with the Bellows. That way, Caleb, who's working with the Bellows, let's say Emily's working with the Rebas, they go into a merge. Now they have to decide, who they're going to go after because they obviously are going to want to work together. But then one of their alliances is going after the other person's alliance because Caleb's with Bello and now Emily's with Reba. And so that can get very confusing. So that was my reasoning to why I thought she should maybe go with the Bellows, just based on Caleb working with the Bellows too, and maybe them having an easier merge that way. But in terms of like who she can personally trust the most, I feel like she would have a better job trusting Austin and Drew, at least before the whole Drew and Brando fiasco, which we'll get to. What do you think? Go before even finding out that they were going to tribal. Who did you feel like Emily was going to side with, or who do you think Emily should side with if they were to go to tribal?
Austin and Drew, both. I
Yeah.
think I thought that before. I still think it's the right move. Sorry, my cat just went crazy. But no, for me, I if I'm Emily, right, and I look at the two sides, it's like although you could go with Brando and you could go with Kendra, I'm going with Austin and Drew just because of the fact that I think Emily, something about Austin and Caleb remind me of each other, even though they're not very similar. I think that the type of alliance, excuse me, the type of alliance member that she wants is someone like an Austin, like a Caleb, and I think although we see like her and Drew talking a lot, I think the key selling point for Emily is Austin in that duo.
Oh yeah, definitely. And we'll talk about that more with the vote later, but I do feel like a big reason why Emily did side with Austin and Drew was not necessarily because she trusted Austin and Drew. I think it was because she trusted and really likes Austin, and by
But she
default,
said she was
let me
like she
trust
was
Drew
excited to prove
also.
her loyalty. That
Hmm.
shows me that she really wants to work with them.
Right. Yeah. That's why when she said that, I was leaning towards, oh, maybe Drew has a chance of staying because I going into it, they made it seem like Drew could not be trusted by Emily and that Emily was probably going to side with Bello. But they like to they trick you a little bit like that and like make it seem like they're going one way, but they're still torn, and that way it won't be a surprise if they go the other way. But they try to make it like seem like, oh, like they're definitely going to take out Drew here because she doesn't trust him, but at the same time it's like it's still up in the air, so they make it definitely interesting
Yeah.
in the edit.
Tricked you just like
um
I tricked you last week by disappearing from the pod. That's
exactly
how it
exactly.
goes. But you got the lady on the pod, right? You got the
I
girlfriend.
did
So
I I did. I got my girlfriend on the pod. We had a good time talking about Survivor. It was great.
Yeah, he's better than me. So there it is.
Nah. It's always better with you, Pat.
Madison, if you heard that, I'm
Fun
clipping
fact.
this. I'm clipping
There we
this,
go. All
Madison.
right. She's not gonna be happy about that. All right. So because you weren't on the pod last time, I wanted to get your thoughts on Sean. What did you think about his quit? I know you sent in the question. Do you think that Sean's quit is actually a quit? And like what are the specific um
Conditions.
things that classify a quit? I want to hear your opinions on
Yeah, I mean, although he got voted out, like the show, if you go on Wikipedia, he was voted out. He quit.
that.
That's a quit. If you ask to be taken out of the game, that's a quit. In my opinion, if you ask for people to write your name down and they do so, although they had the power to say, "Yo, I know you want to go the fuck home, but we don't care. We're still writing down Sifu," and they save him, you know, then but he still quits. Like an hour later, he quit. He was gonna quit regardless.
Right.
And
I don't
look,
know. I didn't think he was gonna quit if they pulled the blind Sifu blindside.
well, and also something to consider is in his post game recap, he says that he wished that he could have been more mentally flexible, which I could be compassionate with because I've been in situations, although not as big as Survivor, just in life where I could have been mentally more flexible. So I know what it's like to be uncomfortable in a state and feel like you have no other options but to go the other way, right? So I empathize with it. I'm not here to trash talk Sean at all. But it's a it's a quit it's a quit, right? You quit. Um, am I mad about it? Not as much as the Facebook people. I don't, I'm not gonna like send Sean death threats, right? It's like not that it's not like that.
Yeah, I think people are going way overboard with anything like
Right,
that,
and
and this
Sean,
YouTube with
if
him
you're one of
really.
Sean, if you're one of many listeners that Tribe Alliance has, you have our support. And we would love to chat with you about your experience. And look, it's just one of those things where you're in an uncomfortable situation, your body tells you no, your mind shuts down, tells you no, and we're all human at the end of the day. So, am I not mad? It is what it is. It's just more of like it's a quit, and that's a fact. Stand with the fact there, right? So I don't
Yeah,
want
so you
to
so
hear
you
like,
do you
oh,
think
he was
it's
voted out. Like logistically, sure, but if we're talking just talking Survivor, he quit the show. And I understand where D and Julie coming from. It's like you fucking quit and then you drop a fucking bomb. It's like we were nothing but nice to you. We almost saved your like we quite literally
yeah, they
had your
were.
fate in our hands and decided to
Hmm.
keep it. And then you begged us to vote you out and then drop a bombshell to just stir the pot for what? That makes me a little less empathetic because I'm like, dude, like he's like, I just want everyone to like, because Jeff said something about him like romanticizing his quit, right? A ton. Yeah.
Hmm.
So, like, you don't have to do all that as well, right? So I'm kind of like up in the air. Like, there's part of me that's like, oh my God, like, just go then if you're gonna quit, right? But then there's part of me like that's a human being and that he's a, from person to person that I hope that he learned from this experience and that it overall becomes a positive experience that he could look back on.
Yeah, from a viewer standpoint, it's nice to see people in the game who actually want to be there. So if he doesn't want to be there, leave the game.
Yeah.
We don't need you in the game any longer. It just sucks that usually when that's the case, it's at the expense of someone's strategy. Like there, these are much smaller examples, but because obviously Survivor is much bigger and much more intense. Um, but there's like times where I played in like orgs online reality games on Discord, and it's like a multiple week game, and maybe like a week in someone has like a lot of work that they have to do in their personal life and can't really be on the in the game like talking to people, and so they just ask like, hey, like, can you guys nominate me, can you guys vote me out, Um, and usually I'm usually the person who is like trying to rally the votes to keep them in the game, because like if they want to quit, they can just quit, and then if we vote out the other person, that's two people down and we're closer to the end. So um I mean, I emphasize I understand what Dee and Julie and J Maya were going through, in the fact that they want to honor Sean's wishes, but they also want to play the game. And strategically wise, it was better for them to take out Sifu at that moment rather than Sean. So that's I guess one thing that sucks about when somebody quits when they weren't supposed to go home all originally, because that
Mhm.
screws up, the dynamics of the strategy of the game. But at least there are people who are in the game, or people who really want to be there, who are really going to try their hardest to play their hearts out. And that's what we want to see as viewers. So
Yeah, talking about
yeah.
playing your hearts out. These immunity challenges, man. We're seeing some new immunity challenges. We're seeing some things.
Hmm.
This could have been one before. I don't remember. I'm not as big as like a challenge watcher. It's not that I skip the challenges. It's more of like I'm here for like the social strategy part of the game. You know, the psychology part of the game. The
Yeah, the
challenges are good.
challenge is not like exactly the same, but like the different parts of it kind of have been in challenges before in like different capacities. So
Yeah. So I thought
yeah.
this challenge was a fun one to watch. I think it was like pretty fair for like if there's like a tribe that like I feel like this like Lulu could have won this one, maybe. You never know, like type of thing.
Yeah, because Caleb, he could have been someone good at the. I don't really remember who was the ones launching the bags at the targets, so I don't know if Caleb was the one doing it and if he did good job for his tribe. But he seems like someone who, if the old Lulu was together and doing this challenge, they could have. Yeah, I could see them have being able to win this challenge. It was definitely more fair, not really strength focused, more like skill and like strategy focused, I guess.
Yeah. So two tribes are gonna win immunity, right? They're playing for some fish. They're starving out there. So the first tribe to finish is gonna get 10 fish, five for the other tribe.
That
And
was
then
pretty good for the other tribe.
yeah,
Five.
yeah, yeah.
A lot more than I expected.
That's one, one per person at least, right? So it's like
Yeah.
that you're eating good tonight. But I'll tell you who's not eating good tonight, and that is New Bello. They are not eating good tonight, and they're gonna lose this immunity challenge. What do you think about this immunity challenge overall? Like the performances, like anything stick out to you?
Yeah. Well, first off, Kelly was very upset that she had to sit out.
Yeah.
She
So
did
I'm
not want to
pissed.
sit out, but it seems like everyone was say like united other than her on her sitting out. Which was interesting. I wish they probably video it, but they don't show it in the episode. But with this extra time, I would like to hear the each tribe's strategy talk that 1 minute before, while they're deciding who's gonna do
Oh, that'd
what.
be cool to see.
Usually sometimes they do show it when it's
It's
like
like
important
one-liners
to the
though, right?
episode. What? Yeah, they'll show like one line or something. Like I remember the most important one that I can think of is when Debbie was telling Brad Culpepper in Game Changers, like I'm really good at balance, put me on balance, and then she does terrible at balance, and then she's telling in her confessionals and to everybody like Brad forced me to do balance, and but I didn't want to do balance, and like it's his fault. I remember that was like a big thing, but usually I don't show it because it's not very important. But I think it would just be a cool little thing to see, like just a few lines, like, oh, like I'm good at this, let me do this, you know.
Mhm.
But yeah, so Kelly and Emily sit out. Julie finds the right key in the first bag, which was very lucky. That definitely gave them an advantage that,
Probably needed.
they definitely needed, yeah, in order to stay out of tribal. And they were also the first ones to get to the keys, so that gave them a huge lead. Um, and what I thought was funny was Drew's slight reactions to while he was doing his part, how like they were all yelling at him to hurry up, uh, and then he was like, "Will do, guys." And then they were like, "Pull the rope," and he's like, "I am."
Yeah.
I thought that was
Fucking
just
That's Basile right there.
That's
It's like,
yeah.
drink more. He's like, I am.
um, but then Reba does it really quick, wins. Then Lulu does it really quick, wins. Seems like Austin was having a really tough time on that
Yeah,
last part of
first
the
time you see
challenge.
Austin struggle.
I know, right? And it seems like a lot of these challenges usually seem like blowouts, except for that last challenge, which was really close between Reba and Bello last episode. But um, yeah, this one Bello loses, and Reba gets to pick three people to go on the journey, which I thought was very interesting. What did you think about their choices? Them picking J Maya with the rock paper scissors, Kelly because she was upset about sitting out, and then Austin to get info from him, and then he was like Helmo, like that.
Yeah, I think that was dumb for J Maya to say out loud.
Yeah,
Um,
I thought that was so stupid.
you don't necessarily have to like give like it's kind of like when you word vomit, like when you over explain something by accident. Probably the
Right.
pressure. Um, yeah, I mean, for J Maya to go, I thought it was going to be D that was going. I thought I like saw D say I'm going or something, and then
Yeah, I thought
it
D
ended,
say like she won, but then J Maya
yeah,
ended up going. I don't know. I gotta look back at the rock paper scissors match, but
yeah. But yeah, J Maya wins rock paper scissors. You know, Kelly's pissed off about not participating, so she gets to go. Austin's gonna go, and yeah, what J Maya said about like we can get some information. I think that you just like showed the whole cast, your whole cards. I don't know.
yeah, that's
I
obviously
didn't.
that Rebo is going to stay together strong. And also, what do you think about Austin's reaction?
I'm with it. I think he had to like kind of just be like, huh? Like kind of like one of those things because if he looks around, he's like, yeah, I got you. It's like one of those things of like,
Yeah,
what I mean? I think he had to, especially because she's like not even in their plans, really. Like she is nothing but a vote right now to them as far as game purposes go.
right.
So interesting to see, but we see that they're gonna end up going on this journey together. And then I thought that they were just gonna walk into like a plate of food and it was just gonna be like, just eat, like have fun, just survivor, you never know what you're gonna get type thing.
Yeah, kind
But
of
it's
like
never that
the
easy.
the Danny Brandon Carolyn thing from last season, like right before the merge, how they just got to eat and like chat.
Yeah, exactly. And it was anything but. We're gonna see the ambulance that we were introduced to similarly in 42. Um, I fucking hate these amulets, dude.
I hate the
Just
amulets.
give the fucking kid Austin, who's been starving, give him a sandwich. God damn it, dude. Because for me, it just adds so much. Like I'm struggling. I was
Confusion.
struggling. It took me a week to like remember who was on the new swap tribes. Like you already have three tribes. You're swapping to another three. You got idols for this, losing votes for this, goodwill advantage for this. Who has the say to that? Right? It's like you just. It just adds a lot, which Survivor loves. They want to add the chaos. They want it to be hard. They want it to be difficult, which I understand. And as a viewer, I do appreciate the 90 minutes. I do appreciate that things are a lot more clear than they were in the past few seasons. But you could have done without the amulet. I don't know. You could have done something else. But that's just
Well, yeah, in terms of production wise, I think they could have done without the amulet. I mean,
yeah.
I think strategy wise, obviously Austin was thinking definitely in the right mindset. One, he's a big guy, he needs food. He's running on low. Who knows, maybe that's why he did so bad in the challenge because he usually doesn't do bad in the challenges. Um, he was so hungry, he needed a sandwich. Not only that, but he brings up a great point about the amulets. If you have the amulet, when you eliminate someone else with an amulet, it gets stronger in power. So they're going to want to target each other at the merge because once two of them are gone, whoever's the last one left has an idol. So we know for a fact one of them is going to get an idol at one point or another if they don't use it together because of eventually two people are going to go before the third and there you go, now you have an idol. So I feel like yes, it's good to have an advantage in the game, but I don't see a world where all three of them use the advantage together. So before that advantage gets used, one of them is going to be targeted for that specific purpose. So taking the amulets just puts a big target on all three of their backs.
Yeah, I agree, and that's what Austin said. He's like, and look, this is coming from a guy that's kind of loaded, right? So he's kind of like, I have enough, ammunition on me, and his
Mhm.
target's already a target just for existing. He's physical, he's social, he's likable, he's showing to have strategic chops, and I don't think people view him as a huge strategic threat. I'm really high on Austin right now. But I think, him really wanting the sandwiches but being able to kind of just compromise and be like, look, the other two obviously want these amulets. He knows, like you said, that they're not going to work together or not target each other, but you kind of just have to say it, right? You kind of just have to say it. And I think that he feels loaded enough, have enough allies that he'll be able to, come out on top of this. I wouldn't be surprised if he ends up with an idol. I wouldn't be surprised if Kelly ends up with an idol. I'd be very fucking shocked if J Maya ends up with an idol after all of this is said and done.
Yeah,
Hopefully I
because
eat my words because I just enjoy her as a Survivor player, just in other aspects. I know I've been hard on her this episode, but I'm just calling it like it is. And
oh yeah,
she was so stern on wanting that amulet, and Austin was so stern on wanting that sandwich. To the confessionals at least. Kelly had to make a decision. She wanted the amulet.
Ellie's in the middle again.
Yeah, she's finding herself in the middle, which I think she's gonna find herself in a lot this season. I think that she's gonna just be so socially like in with everybody. Like, I don't know. She has the keys to a great Survivor player, and I think she's in a good spot. And how is so many people in a good spot? It's
Yeah, no, that's why I'm excited for this merge. Who knows?
yeah,
I
because
wish
if
it
they are
wasn't
until
just
they won't
a
be.
tribe. I wish it wasn't a tribe versus tribe. I wish it was a little more even, and then that would really get to see like, is it going to be two tribes forming? I wish there was more hatred within the tribes so that it wasn't just Reba Strong versus Bellows Strong, and it could have been like uh some Bellows and some Rebas working against some Bellows and some Rebas. That would be the most exciting. And it could play out because I feel like Couture is going to want to target Bruce and vice versa. D is going to want to D and Julie and J Meyer are going to want to target Sifu and vice versa. Same with them going to probably wanting to target J Maya, D and Julie. So it's definitely going to get interesting. I feel like Kendra is now possibly not going to want to work with Emily. A lot of craziness could ensue, but with the whole amulet thing, so like the amulet, right? If three people have the amulet, they have to use it together at the same tribal council and cast one vote uh, as an extra vote. So they have to all agree on it. I'm confused, do they all have to stand up, go to Jeff and be like, hey, we want to use our amulets? And then they all three go into the voting booth together and decide on a name to write down. Do they decide before tribal council so that it's secret?
No
I
idea.
don't know. It's very confusing. That's why I don't like the amulet in the game. And then if one person gets voted out, now it's a steal a vote. And then if when that has to be public, so because you have to steal someone's vote, so that will obviously both people will have to give the amulet to Jeff and say like, hey, I want to steal this person's vote, and they both have to agree. What would be interesting if they all like think they're about to agree on something, and then somebody who thinks they're about to agree says like, I want to use my amulet with the other people, and then the other people like don't stand up, or they do and then say like, oh, I don't want to use the extra vote on that person or something like that. It's
Yeah,
just, I don't know, it,
my
it, it
fear is
could
that we
cause
won't even
chaos,
see
but
it
it's
shake
so
out.
confusing.
Like my fear is that we're not going to see the many possibilities that are like outrageous happen. I think what we're going to see is just someone get an idol.
I think we're going to see whoever lasts the longest get an idol. I really think that's all it is.
Yeah,
It's
so
just a
we'll
it's a
see.
reason to it's a disadvantage for two people and it's an advantage for one person. And it all depends on who can last the longest, really.
Yeah. So New Bello, they're going to go to tribal, but they do some speed dating beforehand to
Hmm.
try to figure some things out. Uh, Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so they do some speed dating. First up is Emily and Kendra, and then Drew and Brando. So Kendra wants Drew out, tells that to Emily, says Brando and her are very strong. They're on the same page, wanting to work with Emily. That could be a tight three. And then we go to Brando offering Drew his shot in the dark if they vote Kendra out instead of him. Um, I thought this was a smart idea in terms of, hey, can you, if you're going to try to target someone, can you please target Kendra instead of me? I thought it was smart in that sense. I don't think it was smart in him being like, hey, like I will vote with you to vote out Kendra and let's be a tight four. I thought that was silly because, you're turning on Kendra. You're pretty much giving up the fact that you even have a chance at being in the majority with Emily, even though you're just lying to Drew. Why lie to Drew if you are hoping to be here another day? Don't you want to be like in good graces with him? I guess like saying like, hey, we could work together as a four if Kendra ends up going home, then maybe that would have been better. But just saying like, hey, like I'll vote Kendra out with you guys. We'll be a tight four. I thought that was a little too much. He should have just stopped it at like, hey, can you please, when you talk to Emily about and Austin about who you want to vote out, can you throw out Kendra's name and not mine? I think that would have been smart if he just left it at that. What do you
Yeah, I
think?
think if he just goes like, yo, bro, like nerd to nerd, like we need to, like you're my nerd shield, like, you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
it's that kind of like nerd shield in a sense, like we need each other out here, like in a sense, rather than like I'll flip on my only other person that I came from Bello with to this new Bello, and we could be a four. Drew sees right through that, rightfully so.
Mm-hmm.
I think if he comes with a more of a it's hard to say too because Drew has already kind of made his point, right? That he didn't want to work with Brando, and I think Brando socially aware enough to realize that. And I think it was kind of like a last ditch effort in a sense. Like I think part of Brando kind of knew if Emily was going to go either way, it was going to be him and not Kendra, right? Like if the
I don't know if he knew that.
we don't know for sure, but
I think but I don't think he like thought it was going to be him and not Kendra, but he knew it was a high possibility because it was going to be one of the two of them. So there's a 50-50 chance. So he wanted to, skew it so that Kendra had a slightly higher chance of being the person that they decide to vote out rather than himself, which
yeah,
makes sense. But I think he went a little too overboard. But then, uh, Drew tells this to Emily, and then Emily asks Brando about this, and then Brando says that Drew is the one who pitched the four-person alliance.
I knew this was gonna happen. It made me anxious.
Yeah, I had a feeling it was going to happen, especially with Emily being someone who's so direct. Like she
Yeah,
didn't keep this to herself. If she thinks someone's lying, she'll go up to them and be like, "Hey, like, are you lying to me? Like, I heard this. Tell me the truth." Um, and the way Brando made it seem when talking to Emily about what Drew had said, Emily makes a good point. It would make more sense for that to be something that Drew pitches, not Brando pitches.
isn't that
So,
crazy?
yeah, so like it seemed like honestly a great move by Brando, because it put some doubt in Emily's head about Drew. And and then and then Emily goes up to Drew and asks him about this. And the way Drew reacted, I think Emily should have right away. Her thoughts were clouded, so automatically she's gonna think that Drew is still lying to her. But the way Drew reacted, I would have known automatically. Oh, he's not lying. He would not have reacted like this if he was lying. Because he was like, wait, what are you talking about? Like, of course I'm not lying. Like it
Yeah,
didn't seem like he was trying to sell it. He seemed like he was like actually like confused.
yeah,
Um, so it seemed like he was telling the truth, but Emily at the time, it seemed like Emily was still thinking that he was the one lying.
yeah. And we see that Austin comes back with an amulet, and he does what he did a couple episodes ago, and it's tell the truth, but only maybe 80% of it,
Mm-hmm.
right? He leaves out, the part where they had to make a decision for the amulets and talked about like a sweat task instead. Says they failed. He's miserable, didn't get anything out of it. But then he ends up telling his boy Drew, knew that was gonna happen. Clock that. Uh, Austin, and look, 9 out of 10 times I'm gonna say, why are you telling someone? But I think that their relationship is an old school Survivor relationship that we haven't really seen, where it's not to game body back and forth. Like they are really just like this tight pair. And we have like Jesse and Cody. We have other great pairs in the new era, but this one, I don't know, this one just feels like super organic, super fresh. I really enjoy it. I think it's because it's
I
also
love it.
like two, like, you got your nerd archetype in Drew, and then you have your Ozzy archetype in Austin, and it's like it's a cool dynamic to see uh shake out there. But he ends up saying, Drew starts to share his concern, right? Um, and that's the first time that those two are nervous in 5 episodes.
Yeah,
Um, but Austin starts listing off all this gear that they have, and if we need to do this, we'll do this. If we need to do that, we'll pull that out. Like they're locked, they're loaded, they're ready to go. They're willing to go to bat for each other, which I like. Um, and Drew mentions, and to Austin, it's like, we tell Emily like it's gonna help her bring her to our side. I do think that it inevitably does help, because
I think
information
so
is
too.
key in this game. And if they have tons of information and they have tons of ammunition, they are sitting so pretty. If they can give information and it seems like a lot, but still have a lot that they still have to themselves, right? That's how like loaded they are. So they're like on the right side of this luck with these advantages in the new era. Because we've seen certainly people be on the wrong side of the luck. So
Yeah, I think that it was definitely smart for for Austin to tell Emily about this amulet. Um, I think that Drew and Austin have been constantly telling people about the advantages they have to the people that they trust in order to gain trust from them. And every single time they do that, it seems like it's working to their advantage. It doesn't always happen like that on Survivor, but for them, every single time they give someone information, that person that they give information to is not telling anyone else and realizes like, hey, they're sharing this information with me because they trust me. So it seems like so far in this season, whenever someone tells someone information, um, around the time that they found it, or like lies good enough to where the person that they're telling thinks that they just found it, um it ends up working out for them and gaining their trust. So we'll see if that ends up backfiring and then people start spilling who has what, but right now it's working well for them. Austin has the idol and the goodwill advantage, and then Drew has the safety without power. They don't want to have to use it this tribal. They want to be able to trust Emily. um, I mentioned, I think it was the podcast with Ty and Matt, um, where we were talking about what we thought the goodwill advantage was good for, if it could be used for the idol, how you can risk your vote to extend the idol, and also for the uh, the shot in the dark. Um, a lot, like, it seemed like most people in that podcast was saying like, oh no, if you lose your vote, you can use the goodwill advantage, but if you choose not to vote, then you can't. And I was like, oh no, you can. I think as long as you don't have a vote, you can use it, regardless of if you choose to lose it or if you lose it because of the Survivor game. Turns out we find out I was right. You can use it as long as you don't have a vote. Even if you give up your vote, you can restore a lost vote, and this is technically considered a lost vote if you give up your vote. So now we see, because it was very unclear. They weren't very um like specific with it when explaining it on the show. So to the viewers, it could have gone either way.
yeah, no, I agree. I was interested to see that too. My girlfriend Kaylee was able to catch like the last 20 minutes of the episode. She saw that happen in the voting booth with Austin. She's like, "What the fuck just happened?" I had to kind of explain it to her. But for a second here, I kind of thought to myself, I remember what you had mentioned. So of course, we knew we were going to touch on that, and credit to you, Steve, because I totally thought you were wrong.
No, it was 3 against 1, but I had the idol.
There you go. Whatever it takes, right? But pretty badass. You got to know he was like at production. Like, can I do this? Because he probably thought of it as like light bulb, right? So it's
Mhm.
like I don't know, pretty cool that that's the way that advantages can play into one another.
I
And
wonder if it was not supposed to happen like that, but then the producers like let it happen because it would be a cool moment. I don't know.
yeah, I don't know either. But all we know is that going into tribal, it's Emily in the power position. Emily's used to tribal. She's sick of going to tribal. She hates it. She wishes that she could just get it over with. And, she went from almost being the first person voted out of this game to in a power position in a new tribe, still in the pre-merge, making a decision of which way do I go? Do I go Bello? Do I go Reba? Um, you know, we see the vote come out, and I want to see, what was your reaction? Because I knew that you kind of thought it was going Drew's way.
Yeah, I thought it was always going to be Kendra or Brando, up until, the strategy portion when Emily thought Drew was lying. And I thought that was a nail in the coffin for Drew. I was like, oh, Drew, please play your safety without power. And then when he didn't, I was like, oh no, Drew's going home. Like, this is terrible. Um, and I was nervous for him, but when you think about it a little more, you're like, well, if Drew already knew that Emily was weary, if he still felt like that, then he probably would have played his safety without power. Something must have happened that they didn't show in the edit that showed them, coming back together and being like, you know what, you're like, I do trust you, Drew. Like, let's work together. Like, I'm serious about this three. And then they ended up voting the way they did. So I just felt like in the edit they were steering it towards she was leaning towards siding with Bello, but in reality she ended up siding with Reba.
Yeah, and
Um,
kudos to Brando. Good of a, good fight. I really did like his argument saying, he knows where all the cracks are. He knows where all the relationships
I
are, and
like
he has
that. Yeah.
all these strings attached to him, um, that that you could use as an asset. Um, Sadly for Brando, it did not go his way. Drew doesn't use his safety without power. They still have all their gear, all their ammo. And we see that Brando is voted out 3-2. Kendra's jaw is on the ground. Looks
So
like she's
shocked.
about to have a fucking heart attack.
Yeah.
I've been there, not in that capacity, but I know what it's like to be blindsided. And what I will tell you is you don't know what to do in those very first moments, right? You just don't know what to do. Brando, young kid, took it like a champ. Really enjoyed seeing Brando on my team. Big sad for my boy. What is it, Jared that has him? Who had him
Yeah.
in our draft?
Yep,
Jared.
Jared.
Rest
And
in peace.
Govind was like really going into Jared about how awful that pick was.
Isn't there a bet that Drew would go further than Brando?
Um, I think it was there was a bet with Sifu and Jake maybe, or Sifu and Drew, and then yeah, I think Brando and Sifu maybe.
Yeah, well there was a lot of bets, Tribal
Yeah,
Lines fam. Okay,
next
there was a there
episode we'll try to recap what the bets are like because some of them had to do with certain people making or not making the merge. So we'll go over the bets next podcast. Stay tuned for that.
yeah, for
Um,
sure.
yeah, but so we're gonna take another quick commercial break and wrap up this podcast very soon. We're gonna talk about the scenes from the next episode and our survivor pool picks. So we'll be back with you shortly.
Hello, me again. Sorry to interrupt the podcast, but we have to inform you of some things. Tribal_lines_pod on Instagram and tribal_lines_pod at gmail.com is where you can contact us. What do you want us to talk about? What can we cover? Who do you want us to bring on the podcast? We want to hear from you guys. We want this to be open to the community. So please reach out to us. We do want to hear from you. But let's get back to the good stuff. Let's get back to the pod.
Welcome back to the Tribe Alliance podcast. We're going to finish up this podcast. First, I have to introduce, look, before you might have heard me yelling at him to stop meowing. You might have seen me pet him, but you've never really seen his face. And this is our third co-host, Harper, future winner of Survivor Cats versus Dogs, and he is the man. So Harper, say what up to the pod.
Harper, how you doing with
He's
today?
like, I want food. I'm a cat, not a dog. Stop holding me like one. I treat him like a dog. Anyone else have a cat that acts like a dog? Chat us, let us know because he's one of a kind.
Who's Harper's winner pick?
Harper's winner pick is Zen
Is
Patches.
it
for
is it
Hannah.
Kendra because she was hissing like a cat?
No, he probably didn't like that. He's like, you're not built like me. You can't do it like me.
Could not.
Um, no, you may have missed what I said. I said Zen Patches for Hannah. That's his winner
Okay.
pick. But no, his real winner pick is like father, like son. He's going with Jake.
There you go.
Just because I don't know. Why not? Vibes are up.
Why not? Why not?
Speaking of the vibes are high because we got a merge, baby. And look, we don't know if it's gonna be a fake merge, a normal merge, a split merge, a fucking you have to kill someone and that's how you make the merge. You never know what you're gonna get in this new era, but the vibes are high because we see that the Reba 4 is back together. We see that they are merged, 13 people, so inevitably we're gonna see some twists and turns, and I'm excited for next week's episode.
Oh yeah, I'm definitely excited for next week's episode. Yeah, we got the 4-person Reba Alliance back together, and Bruce was telling Caleb that he has more power than he thinks. So me thinking about what might happen at the next vote, I'm thinking Bruce is going to be vulnerable. I think Bruce is probably going to be one of the 2 names, or possibly one of the 3 names that are on the chopping block for the first vote of the merge. Caleb probably either doesn't realize that he's in a swing position when he actually is, or maybe he knows he's in a swing position, but he's just playing it like he doesn't because he knows he's about to vote out Bruce. I'm thinking Bruce is definitely in trouble.
Agree.
But we'll see. I think he will be an early boot in the merge, but could this be another, before like next scenes from the next episode that makes you think, oh, Bruce is in trouble, he's probably going home, and then he actually doesn't go home.
Dude, Bruce is gonna be like the final 5. We're just gonna think
If,
he
if
goes
he
home every
ends up
time.
getting anywhere near the finale, I'm gonna be so shocked. 1, at the editors, the freaking producers of this show, and 2, Bruce, like, and the cast in general. Like, I don't understand how he makes it far, but if he does, how awesome would that be? That would be wild.
Yeah. But yeah, genuinely excited for the next episode of Survivor. We will be back to talk about that. But before we leave you guys tonight, we gotta talk about our Survivor pool pick. So Steven, where we at with those?
Yeah, okay. So let me go through who we've picked so far in the Survivor pool. So Pat has picked Sabaya for episode 2, and then Drew for episode 3, Kelly for episode 4, and had just picked J Maya for this past episode 5, which I think is a smart pick because J Maya is on the bottom of Reba. It doesn't seem like she's going to be able to make it to the end unless she's seen as not a big threat and is able to make it to the point where they start targeting threats and not people like J Maya and using her as votes. So we'll see what happens with that. But if she is an early target, like, it's good that you got her out of there. And it's also, you have J Maya who you picked, and you have Kelly who you picked, who both have the amulets. So that could also be a reason for them to be targeted. I had picked Emily for episode 2, Caleb for episode 3, episode 4 I picked Austin, episode 5 I picked Kelly. So I have, Austin has an idol, but he also has the amulet, and Kelly has an amulet, so that's 2 reasons for them to be targeted. Emily and Caleb seem like they're in a good position right now, so I thought they were going to be in a terrible position because of Lulu. That's why I picked them early on, but now I think they're going to make it a lot farther than I expected. So I'm going to have to be, strategic with these next few picks.
That's right. That's
We'll
right.
see.
How am I doing in the standings board? Am I doing pretty? I'm middle of the pack, right?
In terms of like how many people you have left,
Yeah,
Just
like
in terms-
do I have a shot to win this thing?
I think you do. I think we all do. It really all depends on if you choose the wrong person the wrong week. It's definitely the way you strategically pick your picks early on definitely is more important later on. Because like I feel like it's decently easy to predict early on who is not in the merge, who is not going to go home. And then when you get down to like final 7, final 6 around there, you might only have 2 people to choose from or 3 people to choose from. And that's where it gets a little crazy, a little interesting.
Interesting. Well, if anyone listening to the podcast is in any Survivor Fantasy, any Survivor pool, and you want to talk to us just about anything Survivor related, you want to ask us any questions, we just want to remind everyone, hit us up on Instagram, tribal_lines_pod. I promise that we will get back to you. And look, we're a hot commodity. We're, a lot of people want to talk to us.
Yeah.
But no.
Don't worry, we'll find the time.
Yeah, we'll find the time. And you'll never know. The thing about it that's fun is you'll never know if it's Steve or I responding to you.
Many times in DMs with our viewers, our fans, Pat and I are like exchanging text by text, and you can tell by the way we text that it's different people, but it's pretty funny. We'll be talking about the same thing and like trying to send a text at the exact same time, and then we'll get 2 messages. It's
That's
you'll
how it
never know.
goes.
All right, so let's see who Pat decides to pick for the Survivor pool. So for episode 6, the merge episode, who are you picking to be safe in the episode? Who will not go home?
Julie.
Julie, okay. How come?
I think she's in a good spot. I don't know. I'm trying to be strategic about my pick as well, thinking long term. Think if that 4 gets in some trouble, she could get in some trouble. You never know, but I don't think it'll be this early on. I think she's a safe bet. Don't think there's a shot or a world where she leaves next.
Who should I pick? In between me, I kind of want to go a safe pick because like we don't know how the merge is going to shake out. I'd be nervous to go with either Bruce or Sifu, or even Kendra, that she was just on the outs. I don't know. I feel like maybe if a Bello is going to be targeted, it's going to be Katurah or Bruce. I think Kendra will be safe, and I do think she will be targeted eventually. So actually, no, I feel like Kendra's going to make it kind of far. I don't think she'll be thought of as a threat. So I'm going to go with Drew. I think that Drew might be safe for a couple of votes, but I have a feeling he's going to be seen as a threat. I think he might be one of the first people, other than maybe Austin, to be targeted from that 4-person alliance. I feel like they might not be able to keep it too much of a secret. I feel like people will find out about it, try to target them. And he has the safety without power. So until he doesn't have that anymore, I feel like it's a safe bet to say Drew has a good social awareness enough to know when he needs to play that safety without power or not. So while he has it in his arsenal and it probably will be a big threat, I'll pick Drew not to go home next episode.
Good pick. I'm with it.
All right.
Yeah, and with that, it's going to conclude our episode 5 recap. New Survivor next week. We'll see you next week. Thank y'all. Have a great night.
See you guys.